All right, and we are live. Shooting the Shizz, DK and the Schwag, the '03 Kemper kill, Leatherface, Brett Wagner. My dude, what is up?
Man, I am pretty excited. Had a good day. Got a 13-cent residual check in the mail. I don't know where I'm going to spend. Oh, that's 13. No, it was 13 cents, and then afterwards, I think I had 7 cents after taxes. But I'm good. I'm good. We got
another Leatherface.
We do. I'm so pumped up that we have the man who donned the mask last. The man in 2022, 2022?
Yeah,
22. The man, the myth, the legend, the big man himself, Mark Burnham. What the applause in the background?
That's me.
I should have gotten
hello. Happy to be here.
Thank you, buddy. We're glad to have you. Now, I was trying to, on your IMDb, I was looking up, we've done some of the same TV shows, Buffy and whatnot together. Not together, but we've done the same series.
Right.
Were you were born in can I say it? 76. Youngster, a young man. You're a young man. But did you grow up in Los Angeles around the Hollywood business?
No, I grew up in Colorado.
Okay, that's right. I remember we did talk about that. So out in was there anything growing up when you were growing up in Colorado that you said, I want to be an actor? I mean, what was it that led you down this path?
I mean, I stumbled into acting, really. But I'll tell you, when I was a kid, like they had to explain to me that movies weren't real. I was like, what? So I was not aware. I was a bit slow in the uptake in those days. And when I was out of high school, I've been kicking around in Scottsdale, Arizona for a while. And I got tired of partying and I didn't know what I was going to do. I had a good job at Motorola, but I was just partying. And I would look at these people who were walking around Motorola, and I was like, I do not want to be one of them when I get to be the age I am now. So I started trying to think of what I should do. And at that time, my stepbrother was trying to be a stuntman. So I visited him out here in LA for a week. And at the end of that week, I went back to Scottsdale and I was like, well, I know I don't want to jump out of buildings. So maybe I could find out what it means to be an actor. And that's when I took my first acting class. And I never stopped since then, really.
Was your first acting class out here in Los Angeles or?
No, it was in Scottsdale, Arizona, at Scottsdale Community College. I did a couple of years. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Were you doing some plays out there in Scottsdale or just college plays?
Yeah. Just like, the college regulars, importance of being earnest and, whatever else, just kind of like basic learning plays. I did a couple years there, and then I auditioned for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I moved out here to go to school there.
Yes. Now is that the Met Theater workshop, or is that where?
No, that was something different. That was after I was out of school, and while I was in school, not at the American Academy in Pasadena, but after that, I went to City College, LA City College, for 3 years.
Oh yeah, LACC.
And at the beginning, they have the best theater program in the country. Like it's Ivy League training for community college prices. It's really good. But anyway, in the first year of that, I got a job at the only Lort Theater. Lort is a contract under Equity. It was the only Equity theater in Los Angeles at that time under that Lort contract was downtown at the Theater Center. And a movie star's wife did a play there, and that movie star showed up every performance. And so we got to be kind of like acquaintancy friends. And that was in the fall of that year. In the spring of that year, I saw a LA Times article about how that movie star and his wife and a bunch of other movie stars were starting a theater in Hollywood called the Met Theater. The Met Theater had been around since the 70s, but then it quit producing stuff. And then, so this was the freshest entity, the most recent thing. And I walked in the door and I said, you know, I met that movie star downtown, and I'm here to help out. They were just building the theater, and they're like handing me a broom and say, here, just get to work. And so I spent the next 4, 5, 6 years there.
Wow.
Ended up.
And we want to thank Gary Coleman. I know he couldn't mention Gary Coleman's name as that movie star, but thank you, Gary Coleman.
They're all
that's humor, folks. That's humor, folks. I love Gary Coleman.
A-listers, yeah.
A lot of people don't. I mean, group repertory theater in North Hollywood, which was another fine place to go. And I remember it was in the beginning of my acting career, and maybe 5 or 6 years in, and I was just so stale. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go give this theater a try. And I auditioned. You have to audition in front of the whole group, and
yeah,
I auditioned with a girl from my an acting class I was in, and they liked us both. And then I was like, all right, man, when do we start? When do I get to do a play? And they're like, oh, the plays are booked. That's not how it works, sir. The plays are, you're going to be doing the ticket booth. You're going to be sweeping. You're going to be walking the, people to their cars. And I'm like, but I want to act, and I was, man, I tried, I did it, lasted for a couple of months. And then I was like, all right, I'll just stick with acting class. Cause theater is a whole different animal. I mean, it's, I mean, I wish I would have really embraced it, but I didn't. A good friend of mine, Mark Ruffalo, who I used to work a bar with, the Incredible Hulk. I remember I got my agent first, Mark, and I was sitting there and I was so excited at 21 years old to have a commercial agent. Yeah. And I said, hey, Mark, I can get you an agent. And he goes, I think I'm going to stick with the theater for a while. I like the theater.
So Ruffalo was in that, well, I don't know if he was in that workshop. We started a workshop on Saturdays that a lot of people ended up being in. And Ruffalo ended up starring at that theater that I worked at with Holly Hunter in a play called Control Freaks.
Wow.
He started out in that play. I think eventually they went with somebody else. But anyway, Ruffalo ended up doing a bunch of stuff at the Cass Theater, where all of my friends from school were doing plays. So he was in, I know him. He was in our group and all that and everything. But I really wanted to say this. So the guy that I met when I walked in the door of that theater was an actor named James Gammon. James Gammon has been in every Sam Shepard play since the 70s as the old man. Like, he was tight with Sam Shepard, and he built his career, on doing that. He was an old cowboy actor, basically. So he goes, come in and meet Tim. So he introduces me to an actor named Tim Scott. So Tim Scott was a cowboy actor, and he was in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And I didn't know that at that time, I had to learn it later and all that. But these two guys basically ended up taking me under their wing and kind of like guiding me into that theater. Started that training workshop on the weekends, and I spent 4 years. That workshop was really where I learned about process as an actor, about how to formulate your character. Because one of the kind of fucked up things about acting school is it teaches you everything you want to know about how to do a character and absolutely nothing about how to get a job. So I got out of 3 years of acting school and I was like, What do I do now? You know what I mean? So that workshop is where I formulated my process. And I still use that process today when I work. So it's super important.
Yeah, that's awesome. James Gammon, for God's sakes, I just looked him up. I'm like, oh yeah, he had that
Yeah.
deep voice too. Hey,
Yeah,
Burnham,
yeah.
let me just tell you how it goes. What a great character. I mean, I
Oh,
shouldn't even say character actor. He's just a great actor.
He was a great guy to me. Really, really, I ended up he produced a play at that theater called oh my God, what was it? It was called, it was basically a bunch of pirates. It was Sir Francis Drake down at the end of the world, at the south end of Peru, stuck on, a beach or whatever. And it was just the dynamics of that play. And they built an entire ship on stage, like the mast, the whole thing. It looked like a Viking, you know what I mean? It was like an amazing thing. It was really cool. Jimmy was a great guy. Taught me a lot. Tim Scott told me at least 3 or 4 years before I got my first job, my first Western job, which was on Magnificent Seven, told me what was going to happen on the day that I worked, and it happened exactly as he laid it out. It was some freaky stuff, man. He was
Tim. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the Magnificent Seven. I remember when they when that series first came out. And I got an audition. They're like, "You can ride a horse, right?" And I said, "Of course I can ride a horse." And the casting director looked at me and said, "Listen, if you get this acting gig, you're going to be riding a horse for 2 weeks. So I want to ask you one more time. Do you know how to ride a horse?" I said, "I do, but just in case, I'll go get back on one real quick just to refresh my memory."
I did it too. I went out to the backside of Griffith Park, rented a horse for a couple of days. Yeah. I didn't get a 2-week job though.
I didn't get one either. So I didn't get any job on that show, but yeah, that was gosh, that would have been great. I mean, a lot of, if you look at the actors that have made a mark in our business, I mean, a lot of them come from the theater background, and a lot of people like me, I didn't think I had the time to do it. I was working bars at night doing security, throwing people out.
Yeah.
And then I, had my days open for auditions, but.
Well, I walked away from it too at some point. I mean, not, years later or whatever, but in LA, it's a different thing. Like, it's not real. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to disparage anybody or anything, but I got tired of doing plays to 3 and 4 people in the house and spending 6 weeks of building and getting ready. And, so I had to walk away at some point too. So I completely understand that.
Do you remember your first agent?
I do. Of course I do.
Okay. And so your first gig was the Magnificent Seven, but you've done.
No. That wasn't my first job, but that was. Yeah. Anyway.
But you've done a lot of Snowfall, Third Rock. I mean, you've done a lot of TV and you've done a lot of movies. And I actually got to watch, and I was watching a clips of you in a cowboy getting your butt kicked.
By James Caan, man.
By James Caan, man.
Yeah, that was James Caan kicking my ass all around the desert. Pulled me off my horse, beat the crap out of me, took my boots, told me to walk back to town.
It's a good guy to get your ass kicked by.
I mean, he was a great guy. You know what I mean? I saw him years later walking around when I was walking around in Santa Monica. He was like, "Hey, Mark, how you doing?" He was a good guy. He remembered my name and the whole deal. So,
and I was also
he was really nice to me. But that job, dude, that was a one-day job in Durango, Mexico. I would not take that job today, man. You know what I mean? You couldn't pay me enough to go down there. But it was it was cool. I flew down. They put me up in this hacienda style of hotel that seemed like it had been there for 150 years or whatever. It wasn't run down. It was nice. It was like a 5-star hotel down there. And then we went out to the desert. Jimmy kicked my ass around all day. I went home, limped back, took a soak in the tub, had a nice steak, went to the airport the next day, and I wasn't getting first class flights or whatever. This was I think Aeromexico. I don't even know if it has first class flights. But anyway, we were sitting there. The doors are closed. The plane is like ready to push back, and this isn't any bullshit, man. For an hour and a half, we're sitting there listening to them slam the cargo door and have it fall back open. Slam!
I'll take the next flight.
An hour and a half, dude. And then finally they're like, okay, we're on our way. I was like,
I would have been worried about my luggage more than
oh my God.
I filmed. So here's my Mexico. I mean, I've been to Mexico hundreds of times growing up, and I lived there for a little bit when I was young. But when I got hurt on Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2003, and I got flown home, and Andrew came in to replace me. About a week later, my agent called me, says, "How's your back?" I said, "It's good. It's better. I'm good to go." And he says, "Good, because you auditioned for a gig a year ago. It's filming in Puerto Vallarta, and somehow they got the money and they remembered you, so they want you to come." I was like, "Oh, this is just what I need right now to not feel so crappy about myself for losing a gig." So I remember we're going to, and I hadn't flown in. I never flew into Mexico except for this time. I always drove across because we're so close to the border.
Yeah.
And I flew in, and John, when you fly into, I don't know if it's still the same way. They have these little buttons, right? And if you hit the button and it turns green, you get to go. If you hit the button and it turns red, they want to check your stuff. And I was like, no. I hit red, but I was like, I'm with her, and she hit green. Can I go? Oh, yeah, you can go. I'm like, oh. But yeah, Mexico is.
I'm just saying it's a different place today. That's all.
Total different place.
That was 1999. It was not. I mean, not that shit wasn't going on down there then, but it was much more contained than it is now.
It's tough. It's a dangerous place to hang out and shoot a movie. But so let's. You're an act. I wanted to talk about your early acting stuff in the theater because I want folks to know you're an actor. You're not just a lot of people who get lucky enough to play some of these big creatures and characters. That's what they do. That's what they got into the business for.
Right.
And they're not are classically trained actors, I want to say, but have never been in a theater group. And you have. And I've watched your work, and you're a good actor. So I just wanted to give you a little props on that. But
thank you.
Let's talk about Flash Force. I would imagine it was 2019 when you did audition for. Or did you audition for this, or did these guys
I won this role by audition.
Let's talk about that audition. And did you know what you were going in for at first?
Not until I had sent 5 tapes in. So they didn't let me the fifth after the 5th tape, they told me, okay, the directors want to meet you. And I went and I met with them. That's when I found out what it was. Before that, it was all kind of like, it wasn't generic script stuff, but it was not stuff that would be shot necessarily ending up.
What would they have you do in a sense to try
out?
I'll
tell you what got me that job, dude. I'll tell you exactly what got me that job. Is you're familiar with the movie, right? So they had a scene kind of resembling putting mom in the van, but it wasn't mom in there. It was me getting put into the van. And at the scene was written that the character I was auditioning for was wearing a kind of mask, like a paper mask or whatever. Not as a horror thing, but like that was his like weirdness or whatever. He was wearing a mask or whatever. And the audition scene was like the cops yelling, "Take the mask off, get in the van, la 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 la." You know what I mean? So, and then at some point I made a move to the screen toward the camera like that, and that's what got me that job, dude. That, and also walking around in Fede Alvarez's office after I met the directors, they said, well, we're still seeing other people, right? So, okay, I don't know if that's true or not or whatever, but that's what they told me. And then they came back a week later and said, okay, you get to test in Fede's office. So I went to Fede Alvarez's office and screwed around with the cameraman and him there directing me. And I told the cameraman at a certain point, I said, shoot me in the doorway. And he's like, why? What difference does it make? And I stood in the doorway and I said, I fill it up, man. So anybody that sees that on tape is going to go, oh, fuck, that's a big guy. He's filling up that doorway. And those two things I feel like got me that job.
Well, you are a big dude. Like in person, like I'd seen you. I knew you were big. You see it on screen, but standing next to this man or by this man, just a pit bull of a man, just a monster. And I thought you were fantastic as Leatherface, dude. I thought there was some. Well, yeah, but you're a big,
yeah, bigger.
You know, and it's. I mean, you're strong. Like you just don't want to upset the beast there. I mean, you made a great Leatherface. I thought the kills were fantastic in that movie.
Well, you want to talk about process. So when we went to shoot, it was the height of COVID. Nobody else was shooting. I think there was Dune, the first Dune, some Jurassic Park, the last one, and us in the whole world were the only productions that were shooting. And, it was the first kind of formulation, the first iteration of the zones. So you have zone A, zone B, zone C. Some zone C people can't mix with zone A and all that stuff. So I was severely limited on set so that I couldn't do my process. Like normally I would be not as an intrusive element, but I would be in the background of all the setups, watching what's going on, watching the different performances so that I know when I step in the proper way to relate to these other characters. Do you know what I mean?
You want
like whether I got to come in and match what they're doing or whether I got to come in and counterpose what they're doing or whatever, depending on what I'm being required to do. That's my normal process.
The stage acting, I'm guessing, helped with that. And that's a part of your process. You know what kind of people you're working with because you work with so many different people on stage that you can see the set, you can see the people, and it just gets right there.
It's really more about watching how the director and the crew works together to make the picture, and then watching how the other actors interact within that picture. That's what informs me to how I should be and whatnot. I mean, that's my personal thing. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, so Fede Alvarez, who was the writer, folks don't know, Fede and Rodo, I don't know how to say his last name, but they were co-writers on this. Yeah, so Fede Alvarez, and I remember I think I could be wrong, but I believe he was doing some music videos before, but he, Don't Breathe, The Evil Dead, I mean, he comes with some good credits and some good background there. So
he's pedigree, man. He's a straight up genius horror filmmaker. Sam Raimi. Whatever anybody thinks about these films, the business people. Sam Raimi said you can remake Evil Dead. Toby, Exerbia Films, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they said you can remake Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then he just finished. Ridley Scott just said you can remake Aliens. Those three groups of people don't just let any schmo make their stuff. He's
100%.
He's a genius. He's, I mean, I just can't. I mean, Don't Breathe made its money back in like 12, 13, maybe 14 hours or so, and went on to make $80 million in the theater.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies that came out because it was different. I loved it. The acting was great. I loved the whole concept. I even dug Don't Breathe 2, the second one they did. Yeah. I'm hoping there'll be a third, but a great. He's definitely Fade. I don't know much about Rodo as a writer. I probably could look him up. And he did Don't Breathe 2, by the way. So I do know that Rodo was involved in as a writer in Don't Breathe.
They're like partners. They're a writing team.
Yeah. So anything that these guys put out is a must watch, and I'm pretty excited. So you got the gig. They tell you, hey, Big Mark Burnham, you are going to be the new Leatherface. When you found out where it was filming, now I've never been to Bulgaria. Talk about that and the experience shooting in Bulgaria.
It doesn't matter to me where or what, except, Mexico, whatever. But I mean, I was at those times, like, there was not really the stuff that's going on in Russia now. There was not really anything other than COVID going on. So it didn't really make any difference to me about that. They're like, we're going here to do it. And I said, okay, fine, no problem. But, COVID was extremely limiting. So, I mean, I like to have, go to the restaurant and have a nice dinner and have, some drinks or whatever. None of that shit went on. I mean, we all were really kind of contractually obligated to be in front of the camera in our green room or in the hotel. That's it. So there was not a lot of exploration, not a lot of partying going on. It was really like 2.5 months in a shiny prison of a nice hotel and like going back and forth to work every day. That's it.
Them trying to protect, making sure that any chance of you guys getting sick wasn't going to happen, because I know it could really hurt the shoes.
I had, I think I had 75 first generation COVID tests where they jam it all the way up into your sinuses. 75 of those in 90 days. And none of us tested positive during the whole shoot. Nobody tested positive on that shoot.
That's fantastic. It looked hot. Now, was it? I mean, I was watching it today again and watching the actors and actresses. They're actually really sweating. How hot was it there? Or was it just?
I mean, it's a very similar climate to California or Texas. Like, it was hot. It was in the 80s and 90s out in that sun, those sunflower fields, man. It was, it was like, if you didn't watch it and drink your water and stay in the shade, you could get like, heat stroke very easily. It was very hot, but you could also see, I mean, there's a ski area in the town, but in the mountain, just a mile away outside of Sofia, Bulgaria. But so you could also see how it would get really cold in the winter as well. Yeah. But it was not cold for us, really.
Oh, good. I was just watching today. I was seeing all the sweat, so I didn't know how real that was and how hot it was inside.
I could understand how they picked it for, to represent Texas, because it was very similar. Very similar.
They did a good job.
Yeah.
Now, with that town, was it that they shut down? Everybody left the town or stayed indoors while you guys were shooting, or did they rent the whole place out?
The town was built. One of the reasons everybody goes to Sofia to shoot is because there is support structure there. So there's 2 studios, 2 Hollywood comparable level studios, and the crafts people to do all those jobs.
Nice.
So that's why everybody goes there. And a lot of movies have been there. You would be surprised. But that town was built, to my recollection, was built for the production by one of those studios. And it was, like, I mean, it wasn't home construction. It was definitely studio construction, but it was built to last, dude. Like, that was an asphalt street, and those foundations were poured cement and reinforced concrete. You know what I mean? So it's been there for a while. I mean, it will be there for a while.
Sure. Now, for your lead up to once you get the role, you're going. Did anybody come and work with you with a chainsaw at all? Did you have, or they said you're flying there and here we go and here's the chainsaw?
No, nobody didn't really need to do that though. I grew up. I was
going to say, Mark looks like he's used a chainsaw in his past. Not on people, I hope, but I mean, you could tell he's been out there. He's using chainsaw.
Oh, but I knew, the business end of it and what not to do and all that. You know what I mean? Like, it was, I was familiar with it, so I didn't really need that. Mostly what I spent my time doing, and nobody, like, directed me really or coached me to do this, but most of my prep work was spent formulating exactly how I was going to match Gunner. Because really what they hired me to do was play Gunner playing the Leatherface character if he was doing it today.
I thought you did it justice, but I thought you gave your own personality in the character, which I think added a lot.
And you can't, you know, the guy isn't available.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. Most of my prep time was spent formulating how I was going to do that because I don't have access to the guy. I only have limited, really super limited examples of his movement patterns. So then I have to imagine how he would move if he was shooting the script that we were shooting. You know what I mean? So
there's some good ones in that one that you definitely did some justice to. I love the first kill with the with the bone. That was very creative. That one in the ambulance, very, very creative. The bus scene. Yeah. I mean, every kill was really, really good, all the way up to the end of the movie when they're driving away. I mean,
to me, that's in the writing. That's all Fede Alvarez. It was his, him and his team that came up with all those kills. That bus scene, that bus scene was designed to be the most expensive shot in.
And I could see kids nowadays just doing that with their phone as somebody's walking through a chainsaw. So yeah, I don't call it unbelievable. I believe that people would be doing that nowadays.
I mean, you see it, right? Like
all the time.
These crazy people are doing it while they're shooting people in the mall or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like weird social moray that's evolved out of this culture. I don't mean to make a judgment. I'm just saying.
But it's true, though. It's true. I mean, the way the lives of younger generations are compared to even when I was younger, totally different. We didn't have phones. We were lucky if we had a beeper.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I had one too. You may not have seen this story in the other parts of the country, but here in LA, there's a giant skyscraper that was being built, 2 of them, actually 3 buildings, and it's not done, but it's not, it's definitely a skyscraper up in the, it's built and it has 30 floors or whatever it is, and but whatever happened, and the developer had to bail, so it's just there with nobody living in it, and it's just been sitting there. And what happened is taggers from all around the country have gotten wind of this, and they went and they tagged all the visible surfaces of the buildings. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because some person climbed up there during the height of all this, maybe like a month ago or 3 weeks ago, when all of this was being talked about in the news every day here in LA. A base jumper climbed up there and jumped off and filmed himself going down. You know what I mean? I mean,
those guys are nuts.
Oh my God. It was like, that's the kind of thing that we're dealing with, though. That's what the statement of the kids live streaming
there's no restrictions. They feel like there's no consequences. Even when we were younger, I know when I was, we felt a sense of immortality, but it's just a different level now of, it's everybody's got to one up everybody because they see it now more. Everything's out there. Like you said, everybody's filming it. So everybody's got to top the next person. Oh, I saw it. I got to do it too. And
well, I would have got arrested first. I mean, I did get in trouble as a kid, so I was always a little nervous. Now that I'm older, I'm like, but we had consequences when we were younger, whether from our parents or from the popo. And nowadays, there's no consequences. So everybody wants to try, and everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame, and it's unfortunate. But let's back on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Talk to me about some of your favorite scenes you got to do in there, some of the cool stuff and that you really enjoyed doing.
I mean, really, the things that turn me on are the challenge filmmaking wise. So the more difficult it is, the more I'm sitting off camera going, I don't know if I can do this or not. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that really turn me on. So and that the ones that are technically challenging, so like killing the guy with his own broken forearm, or you know, the kill of Sally Hardesty, where she's up on a rig.
Crazy.
And you know, she's got a harness on, and when I go like that, she goes flying across the street, you know, or the bus scene. So I started to say this a few minutes ago. The bus scene, the bus sequence was designed to be the most expensive horror sequence in history, because you had to have a period bus, you had to make it work, you had to redesign it, remodel it to make it happen. You had to ship it to the location, and then you also had to build the entire thing in a studio so you can go in and shoot around in different ways and pull the scene apart. So that scene we worked on for about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was going to ask, my next question was, how long did it, I mean, I've worked on stuff before where it's been a couple days, but nothing. I watched it again a couple days ago, and I was just like, man, this must have taken forever, because just of all the kills and all the people and all the different camera shots and everything else.
If under normal circumstances, it would have been, you know, maybe a week or whatever, which is still a lot. But because it was COVID, they had to pull everybody out every 45 minutes and disinfect the set.
Wow.
Disinfect the actors, re-blood them, redress them, replace them, and then go again for 45 minutes at a pop. So it was like incredibly restrictive, the filming.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, but it took a while. You know, the other thing that really turns me on about this role is that what I was saying a few minutes ago about I couldn't do my normal process. So I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Because they're not allowing me to watch. They're not allowing me to make decisions in a way that I had made decisions before. So I had to, really, it was a kind of exercise in trust and just committing to one tack and taking it to the nth degree, and just listening to the producers, listening to the people that were, you know, the director, and kind of trusting them that I would give them what they wanted, which is not my natural state to trust these people. You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to ask, do you think that challenge, because I know it was out of your comfort zone, in hindsight, was a good challenge for you? That was something that, you know, maybe helped you even grow more where you didn't expect it, where you're used to a certain way and now you had to do something you're not used to, and that challenge you might have hated at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
for sure. And you know, I don't know that I don't think my process makes me a safe actor. You know what I mean? Like I know how to sense those kind of sensibilities, and you know, if I'm making too boring choices or whatnot, I can, you know, recognize that and make those adjustments. But it's definitely like, you know, yes, absolutely, it could have drawn me out of my comfort zone and put me in a place where I was a little more edgy, you know, for sure. I can see that.
Don't need an edgy Leatherface.
Well, I mean, as an actor, and I mean, you know, both you and I, Mark, have been doing this a long time. I sometimes work better under pressure anyways. I mean, there's nothing, you know, I can sit there and prepare for something, especially an audition or a role, and I'll prepare, man, and I'll be like, all right, this is the one I'm going to study, and I study, and I bother my wife. I may bother the, hey, come read this with me, you know. And I don't get it. And the one that I'm just like, or that I'm a little bit under pressure, and I'm like, I don't know if I did this right enough. And then that's the one I always get. The one where I'm like, there's no way I got that, because it just really wasn't prepared, and I just went off the cuff.
Right.
And,
right.
and most of the time in my career, that's when I've gotten a gig, and I'm like, golly, I got to figure out a happy medium. But I'm a 56-year-old actor. I've been doing this since I was 21. I still now, when the roles are, we're big guys, so
Yeah.
there's not a lot, most character stuff. Most stuff for big guys, there's not a lot of stuff, right? So, and there's a bunch of us in LA that go up for the same stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very few and far between when you get a really good role, something that's juicy. I go and get work with a coach, and I'll spend the money just to make sure that I feel like I get someone else to say, that's good. I think that might work. So no shame in getting there and working with coaches and getting into an acting class still. I love improv class. That's been my favorite thing growing up and being in the acting world, to be able to improv and just fly off the cuff and do stuff. That's my specialty, I think.
We definitely have our own. Go ahead. Sorry. I don't.
I was going to say, Mark, behind the mask and stuff, and that's a different kind of role. But like Brett said earlier, you are a fantastic actor. I did watch that movie Dog. I didn't realize you were in it. That was a really good movie because
I got that job when I got back. Yeah.
Yeah, you met my guys. One of them's a huge Dog fan. So the Dog on the thing, we'll play that movie. So we watched that, and it was a good one. And I started watching Wrong Cops, and that has such a great cast. You're hilarious. You're the lead in that one. And there's a lot of talking, and I think people, if you haven't had a chance to watch,
there's another film called Low Life, which you should watch.
I'm going to check it out, but
it's super funny. I'm really proud of that one too.
Yeah, you have the greatest shirt in the world you're wearing in that movie too, in Low Life, by the way. We didn't get to talk about, and I did want to touch on that you got to work with, and I don't want to ruin his last name, but director Quentin
Depew,
and you guys over 4 years got to do some of these movies together, which we didn't even talk about.
It's really all Quentin, you know what I mean? Like, I auditioned for a one-day part in Wrong, which was a film with Jack Plotnick about a guy who loses his dog. I auditioned for a cop. And Quentin saw my audition tape and immediately hired me on the spot. No callback, no nothing. Wrote me another day on the movie. And then when we were shooting, this other kind of thing happened. And he ended up out of that process while he was in the editing room, just deciding that he wanted to do a whole nother film just with my character. So there's Wrong. There's Wrong Cops, the short. There's Wrong Cops, the feature. And then there's the next movie called Realite, which is mostly I'm in it for just a blink. And
flash of the eye. Yeah. I saw there was the short before Wrong Cops. So I imagine the short did so well that he decided to make it a full length when he was able to.
We shot that short over a weekend in February. He quickie edited it and sent it away to the Con Directors Fortnight. It got in, and it got us the money to do the feature in June.
Yeah, so I was watching Wrong Cops today, and I was, like I said, the cast is awesome. You got Eric Roberts in there, you got Marilyn Manson, you got a lot of the famous DJs in there as well. You were naming a few. I don't know a lot of the DJs. I know you guys do, but who else is in there? Steve Little, big fan from Eastbound and Down.
He's a good guy, yeah. Steve.
Yeah, you guys had some. The dad from was that the
Ray
dad
Wise,
from,
Ray
that
Wise
70s show in there too?
Not Kurtwood. The dad from the yeah. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't have any scenes with that guy, but he is in there as the murder survivor, the guy who discovers somebody who's dead in his house. Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy movie. It's a weird, crazy movie, and it's super funny, but it's French absurdism, so it's not funny. Haha, it's just like, oh my, why is that so weird? You know what I mean?
Well, the weed in a rat was like, okay, I got to see where this movie goes. This is great. So,
and then the guy who sells me the rats can't find any more rats, so he brings me fish, and I hit the roof. Like, why am I so pissed off about putting my rat and my weed in fish? You know what I mean? It's just weirdness, just like crazy.
Well, it was your trademark, the rat. So
Yeah,
I mean, I
right.
get it. You don't want to ruin your brand.
Yeah.
Did you realize after once the Netflix got to Texas Chainsaw Massacre was on Netflix, did you realize how rabid the fans are and everything? I mean, was that something you were ready for, that this Texas Chainsaw Massacre genre thing is so big?
I'll tell you something, man. And as an actor, I never had this before. So I don't have any frame of reference. But I got shown a drink of water that I didn't know I needed when I went to all the conventions, because to hear the fans talk about, the movie and my performance and how it speaks to them, or just all the different things they say, whether or not they like the film, doesn't even matter. Just to hear the fans talk about seeing you in something, like, I didn't know I needed to hear that. And it just has, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's just affected my life in amazing ways. Just kind of like super humbling, but I feel proud about it at the same time. And the fans are just so overwhelmingly supportive of me. And like, it's changed my life in ways I can't even tell you.
So the conventions have been really fun for you, getting out there.
It's not just the conventions, other people, wherever I see people, and but it's primarily, my experiences at the conventions, but really it's anywhere, any event, or whatever, somebody sees me on the street, it's like the things that they say to you are just so heartwarming and touches me. Like, I didn't know I needed to hear that after 30 years, because we're all just, been here a while, driving around town, trying to get jobs. And I didn't really kind of track, like, oh, people are watching and they're remembering and they want to meet you and talk to you and engage with you. So when somebody comes to my table, like, I'm super cognizant, and I try to give everybody a positive experience whenever I meet them. Like,
well, I sat next to you, and I can tell you, Mark, you were great, and I watched you with the fans that whole weekend, and they love you to death. Whether fans like the movie or not, I have never heard one person say Mark Burnham wasn't a beast as Leatherface. Everybody, I think, agrees overall that Mark Burnham was a beast as Leatherface.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah. I appreciate it.
He's a biker as well. Don't let him fool you. That man's a biker.
That's true.
Do you remember your first convention? Well, do you remember which one? What was your first convention you did?
Frightmare 22.
That's right. Frightmare in the Falls, Niagara Falls.
No. Texas Frightmare.
Oh, Texas Frightmare.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. One of the biggest. That's a top 5 convention in the business.
The number of people there were just mind blowing, man. Like, I couldn't believe it.
My mom was here, and I got to tell you, Mark, my mom loved you to death. I mean, it was so funny. You see this little lady in her scooter just going over to Mark and, being motherly to him, I think.
Right.
The world to you. She really did. That's why she even said, she never responds, I'm going to a show, and there she was. So she came specifically for you. She thought you were fantastic, and I thank you for giving my mom a great time and giving her a big smile.
Yeah, I first got to work with Mark, convention-wise. That's Hollywood. It's got to be Hollywood.
Downtown LA, yeah.
No, downtown LA either. I got to work Creep IE, the Creep Inland Empire 2 years ago with Mark and Bob Elmore, and it was a Leatherface sandwich with Mark Burnham in the middle. But we had a good time. It's always nice to have a couple Leatherfaces at a thing. And
it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good deal. Now, I don't know if you know this, Mark, but there's so many, the masks are such a big deal in the horror, community, and especially Leatherface is such a big deal. But There's
Right.
tons of guys out there that make the Mark Burnham Leatherface mask.
Yeah, I've seen
I
it.
mean, it's crazy that all these different. I mean, everybody that makes masks has to take their shot at the new Leatherface. So all these guys are making your mask all over the country.
I don't think I've ever seen someone wear it at my table, though. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen people selling it. I've seen people selling it online, but no one's ever come up to me and
Well, nobody can fill your shoes, dude.
Well,
Well, you see,
I'm
the
just saying,
picture,
like, it would be cool to see it on someone. I would love to
Well,
see that.
I had brought a bunch from one of my mask makers, Jesse Aarons, and I think they were gone by Friday or Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I had
Yeah.
brought more. And as you can see next to Mark, there's a bust that my friend Sal made. I told you he was battling cancer. He went again. He's got to still battle some more, but I know that meant a lot to him that you did that. I sent it to him, and
That was cool.
I know he thanks you for that, and I thank you for that. Yeah,
It
it's a great picture of you too, man.
My pleasure.
Right there.
It is.
No, Mark's good. Mark will, if you watch, I mean, there's, listen, you can do a convention and you can be there for 8 hours and it is a grind. And, you can do what not a lot, but some of the people will sit there and it's just a business and they're trying to shuffle as many people as they can through and they're not giving anybody time. But Mark gives everybody the time. He does the big stand-up table and he has the sit-down table. It does the stand-up table, sits there and greets everybody and gives them a couple minutes and BS's with them. And then you're a good guy when it comes to the fans. And I know they all appreciate that.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks.
Oh, he embraced everybody. I mean, he had people just standing at his table and he'd just sit and talk to everybody. Mark's one of those great guests. Any con to have Mark there is lucky to have him.
I appreciate that, you guys. Thank you.
Well, we have a couple SoCal appearances ourselves.
Looking forward to them.
Yes, Mark Burnham and myself, we're going to be at Rated Comics in Palm Springs, April 6th and 7th. I drove down there yesterday, John. I left at like 7 a.m., flew down to Palm Springs, made it in that 2 hours and 20 minutes, went by the comic book store, checked it out. The guy that owns the comic book store, Mark, owns two other, there's a computer place next to that, and now they're building a whole gaming building for the folks that come into the comic book store. So it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good time there. There's never been two Leatherfaces. I don't even know if there's ever been a Leatherface in Palm Springs unless he was drunk having hanging out with hookers or something. So this is a one-time shot, folks. You're gonna get it. Two Leatherfaces for the price of one down there at Rated Comics. You can find them on Instagram and on Facebook.
Crashing that party too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And not only that, but the big man himself right there, the Doomsday's Crypt Keeper, is flying out for his birthday to hang out with his sister. And they're going to drive up from Orange County to come hang out with us, Mark, in Palm Springs.
I heard. I'm excited.
So it's going to...
Yeah, go ahead.
It's going to be a foursome.
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds right, but we're going to have a foursome out there. Then April 20th and 21st, we're going to be at Frank & Sons in the City of Industry. The Big Schwag, Kemper Kill Leatherface, Mark Burnham, and Bob Elmore.
And Bob, yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be 3 Leatherfaces in the City of Industry. And this is the 50th anniversary of the OG, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it is a good time. A lot of those guys are doing conventions now, but you don't ever get 3 Leatherfaces in the same place. It's very tough to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with acting and traveling around and booking other shows. So April is going to be a big month for us, and we're going to be hanging out a lot together. So, Mark, if I say anything stupid in the past, please forgive me because we got to sit next to each other.
I will not hold it against you, Brett.
Thank you, brother. So what is up next for Mark Burnham? What are you doing? What are you looking forward to?
I'm always auditioning, so that's cool. I'm looking forward to getting past the strike and getting busy again, you know what I mean, in terms of auditions and other jobs and stuff. I don't have anything solid right now, but I'm always auditioning. Next week, a week from Saturday, I'll be appearing in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Bodie's Apothecary. And she's a friend that I met at Oklahoma HorrorCon. She's a Wiccan witch and a tarot reader, and you know, she makes potions and stuff like that. So that's always fun to visit Bodhi in Tulsa. And
she's got a love potion on you. That's great.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. And then, you know, I got some other cons later on in the fall coming up.
Yes, I think there's one that we're going to be at. We may not be able to talk about it yet, but I think next Tuesday there's going to be a big announcement, and Mark Burnham and Brett Wagner are part of that announcement, among maybe 4 or 5 other folks. So
cool.
Next Tuesday we will have a big announcement. Well, there'll be a big announcement, which I am, you know, I'm pretty sure that Mark and me are a part of. So I'm pretty excited about that. Well, and you still got the bike?
I do. Okay. I'm trying to sell it, but
I know you are. But listen, I've been saving my money, and I just got myself a Harley again.
Oh, nice. We'll have to go, man.
So let's go take a ride before you sell it. So we'll, you know, 2 Leatherfaces. Maybe we can go down to Okie Dog, the famous Okie. That's not. We don't want to eat an Okie Dog.
The whole reason I want to sell it is so I can get a Dyna. That's what I.
Oh, yes, yeah. He's got a very cool chopperish Harley there, John, which I really like actually. But yeah, I was saving my money for the last 6 months because I've been Harley-less, and I haven't been Harley-less in 20 years, 22 years or so. Wow. So I saved enough, and Robert Patrick, Mr. T1000, who is part owner, Santa Clarita Harley Davidson.
Oh, nice.
He made a good call for me, and they gave me the best deal they could on a Electric Glide.
Awesome, man. I can't
Ultra
wait
Limited. So I'm pretty stoked. They're putting the ape hangers on it right now, and that actually costs a lot of money. But
yeah, right.
So we need to have a good Palm Springs and City of Industry.
Right.
But if the folks listen, folks, one of the good guys in the business, great actor, really good guy. If you have a convention coming up, and especially if you got a movie, you could do no wrong by getting Mark Burnham to audition for you or put him in that movie. If the folks want to get a hold of you, Mark, what do they do?
My agent's name is Carrie Macy. Just look her up online, Carrie Macy Talent Agency. She'll be happy to send you my way, all that. I'm also Take 2 LA on Instagram, and then just Mark Burnham here on Facebook. That's it.
And we'll share out some of those movies in the crypt, because I think a lot of fans need to check out some of the other work you've done and some of the chops you do have, because you do have some serious chops, man. I can't wait to finish Wrong Cops, because I'm about 45 minutes in, but I had to get down here. I almost was late for the stream. I almost told you guys I'm going to be late. I got to finish this movie. But I'll post that up, and I'll post up a few other films that you got. And
put the trailer for Low Life up there. It's super
absolutely
funny. I go to war with my henchman, who's a luchador in a mask, and it's very funny. Yeah,
you got the comedic chops too. I wouldn't have thought. I mean, a big bad Leatherface, and this guy's got some comedy chops in him.
But all right, my friend.
Thank you,
John. Thank you very much, Mark. We appreciate it. I will see you soon. And John, last words. What's coming up? What do you got going on?
Not this weekend, but next weekend. Days of the Dead Chicago, bringing some decks for Kincaid himself, Ken Sagos. We got a ton of cool stuff, some new merch. I'm not sure if I'm going to unveil the Tar Man there by Vinny Cucarato, but I might do that in Carolina since Tom Matthews there. But we'll see. We'll see.
Travis Kuhn, our buddy Travis Kuhn, going to be hanging out with you there.
Yes, and
helping out at the table. Yeah.
Big thanks to him. And I got a bunch of unboxings to do. And hopefully I'm going to do them while I'm packing up next week and getting ready to go. So we got some cool stuff from Daniel Cruz, the Tar Man from Vinny, and some other stuff. Hawk from James Shaver will be with me in May. So we got a lot of cons coming up. It's con season.
I would love to do Chicago.
That's going to be a good show. I'll let you know how that is. That'll be my first time at Days
for
of the
sure.
Dead.
Let me know when you're out here.
Yeah, I'll be there and at Indy too. So
Flashback Weekend also is in Chicago, Mark. That's a good one to go to.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a couple different, but listen, folks, we appreciate you. It's always nice to have another guy who has donned the mask, a man who's now part of history, because he's joined the family. He is a part of history, but he's not just Leatherface, folks. He is Mark Burnham. He is a thespian, and he wants to be in your movies. So do I. So holler at us. Keep watching Doomsday's Crypt. I appreciate you, John.
Appreciate you, Brett, man. Appreciate
Thanks,
everything.
guys.
Appreciate you,
Thank
Mark.
you very much.
Peace
We'll
out,
see ya.
everybody.